So, tonight we're very honoured to have Master Behram, or as apparently his students like to call him, Master B, here with us tonight. One of our monks, Venerable Kassapa, was the one that actually said Master Behram put him on the path. So hopefully he'll be able to share some of his insights which will deepen your practice tonight. And So he has been practicing the Buddhist way of life since 1980, so he's got a lot of experience under him. And we were lucky enough to have Master Behram at our little KM group, which meets every Saturday in that room. We were fortunate to have him last week. And it was really interesting. Like, I've grown up with Buddhism, but he was somehow able to really filter the essence of the teachings in a very practical way. So he said to bring a notepad and pen, and I was like, no, I just want to listen. But I really wanted to take everything down because what he said was really sort of insightful and profound. So things are going to be conducted a little differently tonight. We won't start off with the usual half-an-hour meditation. He'll start off with his talk, and that'll lead into the meditation. So just letting you know in case you came from 7:30 to 8 for the meditation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Those of you who are sitting over there in the back, if you can make eye contact, you'll understand better. So maybe you can change your position, or there's plenty of chairs in front. Good to have eye contact for you to understand things. Oops. All right. Welcome everyone for the talk. If you have a notebook and pen, just bring it out. If you don't, well. The title of the talk today is Be Your Own Good Fortune. Any of you who would like to be your own good fortune? Yeah? Okay. Let's see how to do it. I'll start with a little story, and then we'll proceed. Harry, an 80-year-old, went for his regular checkup to the doctor. Then a few days later, when the doctor was walking in the park, he sees Harry very happily walking with a lady in his arm, half his age. And so the doctor walks up to him and says, "Harry, you're doing well for yourself." And Harry says, "Yes, doc, just following your instructions." So the doctor says, "What did I say to you, Harry?" And Harry says, "Well, you said, be cheerful and get a hot mama. That's what I'm doing." So the doctor looks at him and says, "No, Harry, I didn't say that. I said, be careful, you have a heart murmur." Well, Harry obviously knew how to be his own good fortune. A magnificent life awaits us all. A magnificent life awaits us all, but in order for us to tap into this magnificence, we have to choose the best within our reach consistently. Not once in a while, consistently. Let me say this again. And excuse the cough, it comes from India. A magnificent life awaits us all, but in order for us to tap into this magnificence, it is essential for us to choose the best within our reach consistently. And what is the best within our reach, please? Pardon me? Hello, speaky, speaky, loud. Our intuition, okay, that's there, very good. That's Brother Eddie, right? Okay. Pardon me? Our views. Not necessarily, because very often the views are a little wonky. Yeah, but it's not the best within your reach. Okay, thank you. Okay. Pardon me? To follow the Dharma. Okay? The best within your reach is this incredible mind you are blessed with as a human being. That's the best within your reach. Now, this is a very powerful force that you're carrying within you, and yet we don't make sufficient time to know it or to channel it wisely. And the non-channeling of it correctly or channeling it unwisely is what creates the difficulties in our lives. And instead of being our own good fortune, we become we become a guide to our own downfall. Are you understanding, please? Yeah. The best within your reach is this incredibly powerful force called your mind, your consciousness. And this consciousness requires the right nurturing in order to serve you correctly. Now the good news is that life wants you to be wise. And therefore, even when you were a child, you started asking questions. Do you remember? Mommy, why this? Mommy, why not that? Daddy, why this? Daddy, why not that? Children, once they start to speak, they start to question and question and question. And why do they do that? Why are we all born with this innate desire to know the world around us? Pardon me? For a deeper understanding of it. And what does that deeper understanding do for us? Pardon me? It allows us to connect with the world correctly. Okay? It protects us. Very good. We seek to know the world around us because innately we understand that knowledge is power. Even as a kid, we understand that knowledge is power. As adults, we come to understand that self-knowledge is premium power. But as kids, we don't understand that. We understand that knowledge is power. What kind of power? It is the power to create positive outcomes. We all want to create positive outcomes. Especially that kid who wants to reach up on the cabinet and get to those cookies. He wants to know how to do that. Yeah, knowledge is power, and self-knowledge is premium power. Premium power to create the quality of life we all desire and deserve. It's not about power over anybody else. It's just the power of clear thinking, power of clear behavior that allows us to experience that quality of life we all desire. Nobody wants ill health. We all want to be healthy. We all want great relationships. And yet, we're not quite achieving our objectives. And the reason we're not achieving our objectives is because our knowledge, our self-knowledge, is a little bit half-baked, not quite mature. So trying to be happy in this world, trying to be healthy in this world, trying to achieve what is finest in us without the appropriate education or training is a futile endeavor. Are you understanding, please? There is no power on earth that can allow you to prosper in this world in the absence of the right education and training. No power. We all need the right education and training to bring out our best. In the absence of the right education and training, well, it's like entering a bull riding competition to win the jackpot when all you've ever ridden is a push bike. You can imagine the fiasco. Spiritual literacy, that's what it's about. So, what does spiritual education really imply for you? What does it mean? Why do you need to be spiritually literate? Are you guys in samadhi or something? Hallelujah. So that we need to be spiritually literate because we need to understand the laws of nature and to place ourselves in harmony with them. And these laws are powerful forces and they are highly invisible. Can't see them. So spiritual education basically is about learning to see what we can't see with these fleshy eyes and to place ourselves in harmony with life. So the path to this education the Buddha spoke of in the Noble Eightfold Path. We all know, are you guys all clear about the Noble Eightfold Path? Yes, yes? Okay. Right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood. Yeah? Then comes right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is the path that allows you to be your own good fortune. There is no other path. There is no other process for achieving life at its best, for making your best contribution to yourself and to the world that you live in. The Noble Eightfold Path. So when we really dedicate ourselves to being spiritually literate, we are able to weave miracles into our lives. And the weaving of miracles is not about accomplishing the impossible. The weaving of miracles in our lives is about redefining the possible. The redefining the possible. Can you give me an example of what that means? What is this? What is that? It's a clock? Oh, really? What else is it? It's a phone. And? Hallelujah. This is redefining the possible. Yeah? It's a computer, it's a communication device, it can be a clock. Maybe it's got an umbrella inside also, who knows? Yeah? Redefining the possible. What was not possible for our grandparents is, this is a miracle. It's something we take for granted. Same with the cars we drive, the planes we travel in. All the luxuries that you enjoy, the kings of ancient days never did. Redefining the possible. And the possible we want to really redefine is how, especially how, to be in a beautiful relationship with ourselves. Because if you are not in a beautiful relationship with yourself, and you seek to be in a great relationship with others, it's a losing proposition. Can't work. really can't work. I lived in India for the first 10 years of my life, North India. Then my dad, he was an architect working for the Indian government. He got a transfer to Nigeria. So I lived in Lagos for 12 years after that. Then 5 years in the US for studies, and then finally back in India. Now while I was in Lagos, Nigeria, I saw some pretty wild things over there. There was this one time, I was in the city, and it rains quite a bit over there. The monsoons there are pretty fierce. Floods in the cities, not proper sewage, drainage system. So I was almost knee-deep in water, and there I saw something incredibly absurd. You know what is it called? A flatbed truck? Flatbed? Yeah? Okay. So here was this flatbed truck. It had stalled. The water's lapping on the sides. And there were these 3 guys on top of the flatbed. They were pushing the cabin to make the truck move. When I saw it, I was wondering what they're up to. I couldn't believe what they were doing. So I stopped there and I said to this guy, in the pidgin English, "Hey brother, what are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, we are pushing this truck because it is not starting." So I said to them, "But you should not be up there. You should be down here, on the ground." And they said, "But it's wet. There's too much water." So I said, "Brother, that's not where you got to be." So I knocked on the window of the driver. "These guys need to be down here." So he said, "Oh, actually, yeah, you're right." Because he was yelling at them to push harder. So they grudgingly got into the water and started to push. In order for us to redefine things correctly, we need the right standard of judgment. And that's what spiritual education gives us. Because those guys obviously didn't redefine their reality correctly, and they were struggling aimlessly. In order for us to redefine our reality correctly, we need the right standard of judgment, and that's what spiritual education offers us. Please understand that the joys and sorrows we experience in this world, are inseparable from our life philosophy or worldview. Inseparable. If our life philosophy is flawed, we will be like those fellows on the flatbed, trying to make our lives work in a totally ineffective manner. But when our life philosophy is sound, when we are in resonance with these spiritual forces around us, these natural forces around us, then life does not have to be difficult. We don't have to acquire all these illnesses. We don't need to live in a dysfunctional family. We don't have to be in a job that doesn't really fit us. We can achieve the miraculous. Great health, great relationships, great vocation, making your best contribution to the world, and having a great time of it. So when people say that life is difficult, they fail to understand that it is they themselves who are being difficult with life by not understanding it and not living in alignment with it. It is not that life is difficult, but we want life to give us something without creating the conditions within ourselves for that particular reality to emerge. We want health, and yet we eat in an unhealthy fashion. We want great relationships, but we really don't enjoy our own company. Why should anybody else enjoy your company? Are you clear, please? Our life philosophy or worldview is reflected in the way in which we carry ourselves in this world. Our life philosophy is reflected in the way we carry ourselves in this world. For those who believe that arrogance is okay, they carry themselves in the world in an arrogant, selfish fashion. And they reap the consequences of that faulty viewpoint. Those who believe that love and kindness and gentleness and generosity is the way to make things work, their reality unfolds in a different fashion altogether. Yeah? So we are basically the architect of our own fate. And it is for us to choose the best within our reach consistently. This mind and the education that is out there for us to imbibe. In the absence of the right life philosophy, we fail to understand the importance of engaging in the right process for living well. And please, what is the right process for living well? Pardon me? Living to your value. But madam, what if that value is faulty? There are many people who value smoking, there are many people who value drinking, there are many people who value killing. They should be living up to their value? No. Something else. You are correct in a sense, but that value has to be in alignment with the right principles, otherwise it's going to be a disaster. The right process, following the eightfold path. Okay? Pardon me? The natural way, being in alignment with the natural forces. Okay? All right?
To do good, not to do harm, and to purify the mind.
Okay? 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 You guys are all familiar with the importance of taking refuge? Importance of taking refuge. What do you take refuge in? The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Okay? What does the Buddha represent? Pardon me? You guys need some more classes. Pardon me? Okay. Please, the other ones, everybody else has a tongue here, I'm sure. And so just speak up. It's okay, you don't have to have the right answers. You can just speak up. It's nice to interact. So, the Buddha represents choosing the best within our reach. Yeah? He represents certain qualities that we wish to embody. Clarity of vision, compassion, and so forth. Love, kindness, and so forth. Yeah? The Dharma represents the teachings of the Buddha which allow us to embody those qualities. Without the teachings, without the right education, you are lost. You have no right standard of judgment, no right standard of evaluation from which to make clear choices. Look at the state the world is in. Is it based on clear choice making? That we're polluting the environment, killing all the creatures, constant conflict? No, there's no clarity of choice there. So we need the right education. Okay, the process here is get the right values together. The Buddha represents the right values. How do you access those right values? You need the teachings. And how do you really understand the teachings? What's the third refuge? The Sangha. And the Sangha represents like-minded people who are also keen to wake up. But part of the Sangha also is to be in a close contact with a teacher. Isn't it? Why did you guys come here? Thank you so very much. Yeah. Now, why is it important for us to have a proper connection with a teacher? Why? Why is it part of the triple gem? Pardon me? They keep you honest. Very good statement. What does that mean? Brilliant. Have you noticed how your mind plays games with you? Have you noticed how you can delude yourself into thinking, oh, I don't need to meditate today. The bed is really cozy. Yeah? Oh, this one drink is not going to hurt me. It's okay. Oh, but actually I need another one. Yeah. We delude ourselves consistently. And we need someone to reflect back to us those aspects of ourselves which we are not seeing. You might believe, here comes another one. You might believe that small errors in judgment are okay. You might believe that small choices which weren't really on the mark are okay. And they are okay for a while. But these small choices over time, compounded over time, don't become okay. That's how faulty habits are born, from small choices. They become larger choices. And once we establish those habits over a period of time, it's very difficult to break them. First, we form the habits, and then the habits form us. Important to form the right habits. Suppose this is the equator. Okay? This is the equator. You want to travel from here to this destination, but in your flight path, you have a 1 degree error, which is not corrected. Okay? You know what 1 degree is? Just so much. 1 degree compounded over time and distance is not going to be like this. It's going to be like this. And you'll be nowhere close to your destination. Are you understanding? 1 degree error, which is not consistently corrected, compounds over time and distance and takes you way off course. Is that acceptable to you? You want to fly from Perth to Bangalore, where I stay. Suppose I want to fly from Perth to Bangalore. it is definitely not acceptable to me, that 1 degree error in judgment. Why? Because instead of ending up in Bangalore, I will be ending up in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And I'll be using my seat as a flotation device, with sharks ready to help me into my next rebirth. Are you understanding? Small errors in judgment may be all right for a while, but those small errors in judgment, compounded over time, lead you way off course to where you want to be. They widen the gap between where you are now and where you wish to be. They widen the gap. So the function of a teacher is to keep you honest, to keep your life on track. Because it's so easy to derail yourself from where you really wish to be. Those people who research such things tell us that most people are on course to their aspirations for just about 2 weeks in a year. The rest of the time, they're all over the place. Every year they form those resolutions to try something else, to try something different, and they're on course just for about 2 weeks, and then very soon they've forgotten even what they were aspiring towards. Spiritual education. Spiritual education is the love of wisdom and the art of living an exemplary life that is of value to all. That's what it's about. Spiritual education. It is the love of wisdom and the art of living a commendable life, a praiseworthy life that is of value to all. It has nothing, really nothing to do with rituals. It has nothing to do with abstract theories. It has nothing to do with all the stuff people are generally caught up in. It's about the love of wisdom. Because the more you love life, the more it looks after you. The less you love it, the more indifferent you are towards it, and you believe that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, the more you are blindsided by it. Why? Because you're not in tune with these natural forces. So they will zap you. You touch electricity incorrectly, what happens? Tandoori chicken. Yeah? Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. Now this spiritual education is freely available to pretty much anyone. It's right there. In every culture it's there, spiritual education. And yet, very few people profit from it. Why do they not profit from it? Spiritual education. Although it's there, it's almost like behind the glass, you can't touch it. Okay. What do you mean by that, please?
I mean, the various modes that we talk about the divine confuses people to the point where they can't access the divine.
Okay, that's there. Okay. You're hypnotized by society. this brain of ours, the hardware that we have, well, some people tell us that there's about 100 billion cells in this brain. It's a lot of cells. And each cell is capable of making thousands of connections with the world around it. And there's so much happening that we can't really pay attention to everything. So many messages, many things which we should be profiting from, all those things just pass by us unnoticed. And this is because our priorities lie elsewhere. We're not in tune with the messages from our source. We're not in tune with the messages from our source. We're in tune with CNN. Okay, thank you. In the vast connections that the mind makes with the world around it, in the vast connections that the mind makes in the world around it, and the categories it uses to determine what is relevant and what to ignore, it follows well-established patterns. Yeah? Same as a Google search. If you type in holiday to Nepal, you won't get something appearing, talking about hard drives. Yeah? If you do a Google search about Nepal, you get what you're looking for. So when we are focused only on profit making, only on me, I, me and mine, and not really seeing the importance of making your best contribution to the world, then all those messages, all that intuition, all the things that are talking to you, within you, those messages cannot be heard because your attention is elsewhere. So we need consciously to set the right priorities, especially the priority to make learning into our default setting. Learning to be in tune with life. Only then can we become our own good fortune. If you're not in tune with life and you wish to be your own good fortune, it can't happen. The right conditions have to be met. As aspiring Buddhists, you must have heard of the law of dependent arising or dependent origination. That depending on a certain factor, certain realities are born. I spoke of it in the last talk that I gave, but I'll just say it again. The law of dependent arising. The basic formula is this. When A arises, when A exists, B arises. Remove A, B cannot arise. When ignorance exists, suffering arises. Remove ignorance and suffering cannot arise. When wisdom exists, joy arises. Remove wisdom, joy cannot arise. The law of dependent arising. So we need to set our priorities correct. Our priority is to engage in the process of learning that allows us to be wise and compassionate and loving. Outside of that process of being wise, loving and compassionate, there is really no joy. Impossible. So with the right standard of learning, we are able to acquire the sensitivity to see the opportunities in front of us as a possible raft to a shore that seems unreachable. Let me say it again. There are many people who are stuck in jobs they do not like. And they don't feel that it's possible for them to get something better. There are many people who are stuck in relationships they don't like, and they don't believe it's possible for them to attract something better. There are many people who suffer from ill health, and they don't believe it's possible for them to make better life choices. Yeah? These are shores which seem unreachable, and yet they are reachable. What is required is the right standard of evaluation from which to reach out to them. So when we have the right standard of evaluation, we see the opportunities in front of us as a possible raft to a shore that seems unreachable. But it is reachable. It's about the redefining of our priorities, redefining of our possibilities. That's what allows us to live the quality of life we desire and deserve. For about 5 years, I taught in a hill station in India. If any of you know of the place called Manali, beautiful place, oh, gorgeous place. I was renting a retreat center there and running classes, long retreats. People from all over the world used to come there. Now, Manali is a hill station. It's also known for honeymooners. So busloads of honeymoon couples would come there, and all happy when they get there. But I would always notice that when their holiday was over, when they got back into the buses, they were not as pleased to get back home. Possibly they also had a few fights. Now I had my posters up all over town for the classes that I was running. And these couples would see the posters, but nothing registered for them. Many of them didn't register. Whereas the tourists who were there, they were looking for some spiritual clarity, they would come to the classes. So although the possibility of learning how to relate was right there for them, they couldn't see it. They just couldn't see it. So, there's a funny little story here. There was this guy from Brazil. He had come to Manali, which is also known for its marijuana, tall grass, jungles up there. Yeah? And most Westerners come there to smoke weed, get high, happiness. So this fellow had come from Brazil from a stressful job. He had taken some time off, and he had come there to just get high. And after about a couple of weeks of getting high in his hut, they used to stay in these far-off places so that the cops wouldn't catch them. He got bored with smoking the weed, and he needed some exercise. So he saw my posters. I was doing yoga and meditation. And he comes up and he says to me, I want to learn how to stretch my body. I want to learn yoga. I said, why do you want to learn yoga? He said, oh, because I've been smoking weed and I'm really stiff and I need some exercise. So I said, have you ever thought of stretching your mind? Stretching the mind? How you stretch the mind? So I said, well, I'm giving a talk later this evening. Why don't you go into town, get yourself a pen and paper, or notebook and pen, and come back. So he ran off, because he was keen to know how to stretch his mind, along with his body. And he stayed with us for 6 months. He couldn't get enough of the teachings. Yeah, because the teachings are fascinating. He just couldn't get enough of the teachings. He was a transformed person at the end of 6 months. The possibilities are there within our reach, but we need that heightened awareness from which to reach out to those possibilities. Let me just share a little story with you before we end, and then we'll do a little meditation. Yeah, so a dynamic meditation. I have a master's degree in design, graphic design. I was in the US for 5 years, in Los Angeles, in a beautiful college, all art college. 5 different faculties: music, dance, theater, film and video, art and design. I was in the design department. And the time I was there, the deans of all these 5 faculties were international figureheads. Very talented, good looking, pots of money, good families. They had pretty much reached earthly nirvana. And yet, as the months progressed, I saw that they could have been a lot happier if they were more spiritually inclined, because these guys were not really happy. Even though they were so well off, they were not happy. So I asked myself, what is missing here? They have everything that most people aspire to. What's missing here? And I had that heightened perception to notice that what was missing was spiritual clarity. In the absence of spiritual clarity, nothing fulfills you. Nothing. Sad, extremely sad, that here they are, enjoying the best they can enjoy in life, and yet alcohol problems, drug problems, relationship problems, you name it. It was an eye-opener. And because of that eye-opening, they helped me to find my path. I realized that I didn't want to do design. So after I graduated, I came back to India, looked for teachers and teachings, and here I am today. Are you clear what I said? This talk is about learning how to be your own good fortune. The only way you can be your own good fortune is by consistently choosing the best within your reach. You have a mind, a human mind, which is capable of so much more than you can possibly imagine. But this mind, like your body, requires the right nourishment. If you give your body the wrong nourishment, what happens? You not only get sick, what else happens? Pardon me? You go into depression. If you are eating junk food day in and day out, your body will remain hungry because you are feeding it empty calories. It will want to eat more, even though you're not absorbing anything. It's empty calories, it just needs the right sugar. Yes, definitely, yes. But the point here is that if you feed your body the wrong food, it stays restless. It wants more. Same with the mind. If you do not feed your mind with the right nutrition, static restlessness. You sit for meditation and your mind is all over the place. Why? Well, because the mind is not really getting its right nourishment, not sufficient learning.
Where is the mind?
We will not get into that right now. Yeah, almost about to finish. That choice-making faculty which you have, that choice-making faculty has to be in the right place. Because if your choice-making faculty is flawed, then life will reflect those faulty choices back to you in the form of suffering. So in order to make better choices, and not to stand on that flat bed and push things, in order to make the right choices, you need spiritual clarity. This comes only through education. And that is why the Buddha taught for 45 years. He didn't just ask people to sit under the tree and contemplate their navel. There's a vast teaching associated with Buddhism, with what the Buddha taught. Vast range of literature. Because so many subtleties you have to be conscious of in order to navigate safely and skillfully through the many illusions in this world. Okay, before I finish this, any questions before we start the meditation exercise? Yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
Just now you said that we have problems because we don't tune ourselves to the natural forces.
Hi.
You said that?
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds like Taoism too. Taoism?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us what you mean by natural forces that we just two examples?
Natural forces. It is how nature behaves under specific conditions each and every time. Natural forces. Yeah? Nature is highly conscious. It is highly conscious of your movements. Consciousness. Everywhere is consciousness. That little seed that you plant in the ground has the consciousness to replicate itself. It will not give you something different. If you plant a mango seed, you do not get some other plant germinating from it. There's a consciousness in that seed. So these natural forces, they behave in a specific fashion each and every time under specific conditions. When we walk through life in a misinformed manner, then the natural consequence is difficulties. But when we walk through life in an informed manner, with some clarity, then the way nature behaves is that we experience life at its best. These are natural forces. What the Buddha spoke of in the law of dependent arising, basically. That things don't just happen to you. Things are happening by you, especially by the kind of person you have chosen to be, whether informed or misinformed. Better to choose to be informed. Anything else? Yeah. Hi.
Accidents other than indulgence. Is that you say you want to have good feeling, you can't get a Ferrari, you get a Ferrari and later for a car, you get that good feeling, but really you abstain from having a vehicle together and just getting the first vehicle first time, that's the same feeling as getting the Ferrari.
Thank you. Have you noticed the level of distraction most people engage in? Fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. Or watching TV for hours, or doing whatever. Yeah? The level of distraction, the level of boredom, the level of restlessness in this world, have you noticed it? Why does that happen? Because people don't have that heightened sensitivity which comes from wisdom to live a simple life and to see the miracle in the smallest of things. That's why. They try to fill themselves from the outside when the filling has to come from the inside. So wisdom allows you to live in a manner which is just amazingly joyful and grateful and loving. And life responds to you according to the frequencies you're on. You're protected, you're guided, you feel safe, you feel held. Oh, life doesn't have to be a struggle. For most people, this is just a phone that they will use for a while till the next model comes, and they chuck this and they get the next one. There's no loyalty, there's no real appreciation of this miracle that they're holding. No value. So to learn to see the beauty in that little rug or that little tuft there, oh God, that's joy. But trying to fill with a Ferrari and a huge house and a this and a that, like those fellows I was talking about, still unhappy. Yeah, so wisdom allows you to love well. Wisdom allows you to act well, to feel well, to be well. Ignorance doesn't. Ignorance makes you believe that happiness is an outside factor. And you keep running after it. And it keeps like a rainbow, it keeps moving. You just can't access it. Anything else? It comes from being in the moment with the right standard of evaluation for evaluating the moment. It doesn't just come outside of education.
So, by evaluating it, that's, what do you mean by that?
Okay. You drive a car? Yeah. Okay. How often do you really appreciate the engine? Hallelujah. Okay. A mechanic, someone who makes cars, someone who fixes cars, will appreciate that engine like you can't. Yeah? He or she is in the moment, and they're able to appreciate that moment far better than you do. So the more we know something, the more we appreciate it, the more reverence we have for it, the more value we have for it. When we don't really understand things, we take it for granted. So to be in the moment correctly means to be in the moment where you just feel this incredible rapture of being alive. Nothing else is required. You don't need anything to be happy. You are already joy, but you're not touching that joy. Yes. Wisdom in general, but spiritual wisdom is the more fulfilling variety.
I can understand it makes sense. You said that inner spiritual wisdom to bring us happiness.
Hey.
And also to tune ourselves to the natural forces. Okay? Yeah. Just what in my mind is the Buddha's teaching. The mind is the forerunner of all states.
Correct.
So that would cover, tuning ourselves to the forces of mind, involvements of mind. Inner wisdom involves mind too.
Yes.
So it comes back to mind affecting the five aggregates, really affecting our feeling, emotions. You see what I mean? Understanding that is very important.
Something else?
You seem to have presented a lot about the view. How important is practice? How important is practice in real life? We can talk about Dharma and Nirvana, and someone can conceptually understand that. How important is practice? What percentage should one be practice
The practice is being kind, the practice is being loving. Is that the practice you're talking about, or are you talking about... Okay, before you can actually meditate, you need to practice to be kind and loving and gentle and generous and so forth. Outside of that, there is no meditation. As the Buddha has spelled out in the Eightfold Path, the Eightfold Path is broken up into 3 factors. You know that? Okay. The wisdom factor, the morality factor, and the concentration factor. Right? So if you're in a livelihood that's not really useful to yourself or others, your mind will spin. You will never meditate. If your speech is faulty, if your actions are faulty, you cannot focus. It's impossible. So your morality base has to be sound first. Just learn to practice things in the world, physical things which you can do correctly, and then when you sit, there will be less clutter in the mind. But to try to sit in practice like this, and your house is a mess, your car is a mess, your office is a mess, and you don't treat people properly, it's impossible to do that. So the practice basically is learning how to be a happy, healthy, grateful person. Do that, you give your mind the right nourishment, and it will settle down. You can't force your mind to settle down, but you can create the conditions for it. So connect with the world correctly, and you will, when you sit and practice, you've already given your mind the right nourishment, it'll settle down. But if you have been living, focusing on trivia, the mind will never settle down. Distractions, trivia, gossiping, complaining, criticizing, is not the condition for a still mind. So your practice first and foremost is to be more loving towards yourself and towards the world around you. And in the formal practice, if you sit incorrectly, you will never sit properly. I mean, your mind won't settle down. The sitting has to be so that you're like a tripod, unshaking. 2 knees, 1 butt. You're sitting on the butt. Yeah? When you're sitting correctly, body settles down. If you sit something like this, I don't know how people sit, you can't meditate in this position. Yeah? So train yourself to stretch these muscles and to sit properly. This is half lotus. Full lotus is even more supersonic. Yeah? Yeah, sitting like this. I cannot even emphasize to you how beautiful this position is for practice, because it physically creates a current through the body which is rapturous. In the beginning it is not rapturous, in the beginning it's agony. When I first started, I thought I would be wheeled out from the retreat center in a wheelchair. My knees would explode. But now, all that suffering I went through, definitely worth it. Then when you sit like this, and you back straight, shoulders loose, head balanced, so much easier. But if your position is wrong, legs are wrong, can't work. So please train yourself. Hey. Both. Did you apply a gentle approach, or with determination you just plow through it? Well, when I was in Japan, training there, Zen monasteries, trust me, 1 week there is like 1 year of suffering. Really tough, those guys. Oh, God. But it was so worth it. I could already sit like this, yeah? But I couldn't sit like this for too long. And over there in Japan, they sit like this. When they eat, they sit like this when they chant, not when they meditate. And there's this long table there. The the abbot is over there, and all the students are there, and some of the monks would chew slowly, like a cow, like this. And we have to wait till everyone finishes, and there my knees are about to explode, and you can't move. And then when it finally finished, the other guys would walk up, and it would take me 10 minutes to get out of the position. Oh, God. But, hello. Well worth it. Definitely well worth it. So, next question. Someone over there had a question? Yeah? Thanks for the question, but please forgive me, but I will not go down that road right now. Yeah? Hi? Okay. Okay, but you're sitting like that, and that's balanced. Yeah, as long as your body is balanced, not in an imbalanced fashion, you're fine. You have to be symmetrically attuned to yourself and to life, and especially your spine, because your spine is like the antenna to get the right reception. If your spine is wrong, if your head is like this, not going to work. So your head has to be in the right position, your spine has to be in the right position, and you need to be well grounded. And then obviously breathing also is important. Breathing well from the abdomen, not from the upper chest. Shoulders loose, head balanced. If your head is too low, you'll start thinking of the past. If it is too high, thoughts of the future. Important to keep your head straight, nose in line with the navel, shoulders loose, breathing well, and you're rocking. Something else? Next class, thank you. Just keep it relevant to what we can really not debate about, yeah? All right, you guys ready for a little meditation? Yeah? Now this is not the meditation you're used to. This is a little confrontational. But no fist fights here, please. Okay. Now, basically it's a meditation declaring to yourself and to your partner, because I'll be pairing you up, what you have understood from this class today. Okay? So find someone to pair up with next to you. Yeah? Just turn your chair around and pair up with someone next to you, facing each other. And those who don't want to do that, the doors are right there and you can just leap out. So you will pair up and okay. Let me just tell you what you're going to be doing, please. Yeah? You'll be asking 3 questions. And it is important that when I ding the dong, you stop talking, and it's the other person's chance to ask you the question. Yeah? Usually some people just go on and on. It's nice to talk, but over here we don't have much time. So the first question is, one person asks the other person, what were some important points from the class today for you? Okay, that's the first question. When I ding the dong, You start doing it again, you stop and the other person starts. Okay? Let's do it. Okay, change. The other person asks. The other person asks, what was the most important point for you? Quiet. Okay, next question. You ask your friend, if you were to describe what you learned today to a friend, how would you say it? In just a few words. If you were to describe to your friend who's in need of some clarity what you learned today, what would you say? Yeah? Okay. 2 minutes. તો મને નીલ કરીને વાત કરવાની, એ લોકો રેકોર્ડ કરે છે. Yeah, 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 yes, yes. Your partner asks you the question now. Your partner asks you the question. Okay, the last question. Last question you ask your partner. If you were to put one thing into practice today from what you learned today, what would it be? Got the question? If there's one thing you learned today that you would like to put into practice, what would it be? Okay? Ask that question. Okay, change, ask your partner. Did you change? You've changed? Okay. Okay, let's just sit quietly for a few minutes and then we'll stop. And if you can sit in a balanced position, if not, it's okay. This is a formula for suffering. The way you're sitting is a formula for suffering, but it's okay. Like I said, your knees need to be, but it's okay, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
It's hard to sit though. But I've been told by other teachers that you're better off if you are flat on the ground and your legs aren't flat, then you're better to lift your bottom up.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, you're not sitting on the cushion correctly. You need to be right at the edge and you need to be a little higher. Yeah. And if you can't sit like this, you can even sit just like this. Or, if you want, you can sit like this. But it's all balanced. This is not a balanced position, but that's fine. And if you can at home, get a bolster and you sit rodeo style, like this on the bolster. There won't be any pressure on your ankles, and you can sit like this also in a balanced position. Then you have to wait till the next rebirth. No, there's a way around everything. redefining possibilities. You have to be creative. Okay, sitting straight, back straight, shoulders loose, head balanced, breathing well from the abdomen. Usually in my retreats, we turn off the lights and I tell a ghost story. Yeah, but we won't go there right now. Thank you all for being here. And I just have a few announcements to make before you leave. Michelle there, a lovely human being, and Sherry over there are two people you may want to meet before you leave. I'm offering a one-on-one session free of cost in Madura Bay, where I stay, and also in Coburn at the Success Library on the next few days. If you would like to meet me for a 20-minute session, just to get a fresh perspective on any issue that you may have in regard to your practice or whatever challenges you may be facing, I'll be happy to spend some time with you free of cost. So for that, if you want to meet with me, either in Madura Bay or Coburn, Sherry there is the person to meet. And if you would like to be on my mailing list for my next visit to Perth, then Michelle is the person, and there are three boards there. Just put your name, mobile number and email, and we can put you on the mailing list and let you know of our next visit. And lastly, I'm offering another talk. I'm offering a free talk tomorrow at the Rockingham Library which I offered over here last Saturday. It's called Rising Above Life's Turbulence. It's a free talk at the Rockingham Library from 10 to 12. If you're interested, please come along. Then I'm also offering another talk, different to this one, in Fremantle on, I think it's the 9th. Sunday is the same talk. But Sherry has the flyer. If you're interested, take a look at the flyer. But if you really want to get deeper into the practice and understanding of yourself, I'm offering a 2-day workshop in Madura Bay. 2-day workshop on the 13th and 14th. And we speak on 6 different themes in the 2 days. And we have a lot of fun. The 6 different themes, first of all, the first one is the importance of placing yourself in the right emotional states. Because if you're not in the right emotional states, there is no practice. First of all, yeah? Secondly, the importance of acknowledging and living in accord with the law of fair exchange. You want something from life, you want the best from life, well, you have to give your best to it. There's no two ways about that. So we talk about the law of fair exchange. And then we talk about challenges. Whether you're a saint or a sinner, you will face challenges. And most people do not face challenges correctly, and therefore the challenges keep nipping them in the butt. So how to stop doing that? How to stop being a magnet for attracting difficulties into your life? Or how to face challenges correctly. That's what we learn on the first day. On the second day, we learn about the importance of heightened perception. Because what you see out there is not what is really there. What you see out there is a reflection of how well-informed or misinformed you are. Yeah? The reality you experience is a reflection of yourself. So the importance of heightened perception, how to acquire that, what happens if you don't. We talk about that. And then we talk about the importance of recognizing and seizing the opportunities life presents you with daily for bettering yourself, for perfecting yourself. Because in the absence of self-perfection, there can be no real lasting joy. And the last point is, it all sums up in the importance of personal refinement. In the absence of personal refinement, no matter what you achieve in this world, it will not satisfy you, can't satisfy you. And because personal refinement is so important, the Buddha spoke of the Noble Eightfold Path. We won't be talking about the Noble Eightfold Path, but we'll be talking about aspects of it in a different way. So if you have the time and the inclination, please come. All right? Thank you. Have a great evening. So Michelle is there. If you want to place yourself on the mailing list, it's over here. If you want to sign up for a one-on-one, Sherry's there. Sherry, you can come here.